Welcome back. You're watching Inside Politics. Thank you for staying with us. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Use the hashtag Inside Politics at the Jesse Rogers at KTN News KE. Just to reintroduce my panelists, Hesbon Owila, Dismas Mukua, Ishmael Nyaribo, and we've just brought into the foray Susan Mangeni, who is joining us from our Kakamega studios via way of Zoom. She is a governance analyst, and her scarf might be telling of the party she sort of supports. It's great to see you, and happy Easter, Susan. Let's begin with your take home, looking back at the UDA party primaries and also observing what ODM has been doing and the other parties as well. What would you say is the major lesson when we take a look at the democratic space we live in? Political parties are known to just be coined for the purposes of power. This time round, it seems the UDA was trying to push a message in terms of conducting the party nominations in 37 or so counties. What's your take home?
Thank you, Jesse, and blessed Easter to all my colleagues there in the studio. I want to say this. Number one, that what we've seen in the last 2 weeks or last 1 week of political parties primaries has brought out three things. Number one, this was a test of institutional democracy, whether political parties have come to an edge where they can carry out, credible primaries that everybody can look at the processes and agree to it. And two, the other test was on political consciousness of the electorates. And I want to give credit to His Excellency Deputy President William Samoei Ruto through the Hustler Clarion, through the bottom-up economic model, and through his persistent message on economic reforms, on economic agenda, and just finding a way of reorganizing the grassroots, which is the bottom in this case, the hustlers, the momombogas. He has kind of awakened the consciousness of the electorates. And now what you're seeing is that people are now moving away from titles, from personalities, from surnames, from friendship, and now people are focusing on development agenda. So the people, that debate, that conversation has then given the Kenyan electorate across political divide to kind of now come up with new parameters of measuring or of judging their leadership. And I think this is what happened. So this is a revolution that was bound to cut across political divide. And it's not only UDA, my party, which in some way has been affected by big people who have fallen down, but it's also in our opponents, in ODM. But as you can see, ODM has tried to postpone the major fallout. In many counties, they've not carried out primaries for parliamentary seats. But I believe if they were to do that, you're going to see what has happened to UDA also happening there. The third is that this is a new reality. I mean, these primaries have also ushered in a new reality to political organizations that they're not just, they should not just see themselves as vehicles for power ascension, but they should look into themselves as organizations that brings on board the aspirations, and in this case, the socioeconomic aspirations of Kenya. It is a message that has been sent out to political leaders that Kenyans do not just want to hear those sentiments. You're not going to elect someone because he has money or not. You're going to elect an agenda, and it has to be a demonstrated agenda. So all this for me, from where I sit, I want to credit it to His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. He has interacted with the grassroots, and he has told them that, first of all, seek first the economic freedom, and the political freedom shall follow. And this is what you've seen. Sadly, it has also given us a lot of casualties. And the deputy president made this clear a few months ago. And he told his friends that this will go beyond being a friend, beyond personal acquaintances. He said he loves his friends. He loves people he has worked with. But when it comes to political party management and how we are going to manage the primaries, he told everybody, go to the ground, and it's the people who will give you that vote. That's why you've seen Charles Ketera, a good friend of Mheshimiwa Ruto, tumbling along the way.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me just ask you this briefly, and if you could keep it brief, I'd definitely appreciate it. The numbers, the low turnout of voters during this party primaries, some have mentioned that it is definitely a cause of concern for Deputy President William Ruto and the UDA party. How do you read it, especially the numbers that turned out in the central Kenya region?
Yeah, you see, any primaries. Let me respond that with an example from my county, Busia. In my county, Busia, when ODM carried out the nomination on 11, they registered very low turnout as well. And you see, ODM has been in Busia for many years, and more than probably 15 years. But you saw that the governor candidate only got 49,000 votes, which was very low compared to the number of the total registered voters, which we are at 450,000. So when it comes to then the low voter turnout, this does not only affect the UDA, it is affecting even strongholds, what you would consider to be the historical strongholds of ODM.
All right,
I think we need to look. Yeah. So what I wanted to say, let's not look at this from a perspective of political party. I think, like I said, it's just the political consciousness and the people asking themselves, what does it serve me to vote when I can't put food on the table, the high cost of living, the fuel prices, and so many things. But again, for UDA, the low turnout was contributed on partly also because initially they had said they were going to use the voter register, UDA voter register, which were not in circulation. So many people really had kept off. When IBC agreed on IBC register, not so many people were aware.
Okay, that's well noted, Susan. Okay. I think the point is definitely across. So perhaps it's an issue across board, not just for the UDA party. Before we get the right of reply from the other panelists, let's just shift focus and look at a bigger picture in terms of the coalitions with focus on Azimio. Just recently, the Wiper Party, which is one of the 26 political parties that constitute the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Party, is questioning the composition of the council membership that was gazetted Thursday. According to Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., the composition, which positions President Uhuru Kenyatta as the chair of the coalition council and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka as a member of the council, undermines the role and decisions that Kalonzo will make, since majority of the members are affiliated to the coalition's party leader and presidential contender Raila Odinga. Now, as our senior political affairs reporter Chris Tyro breaks down, Wiper Party still insists that Kalonzo should be the deputy party leader of Azimio la Umoja. Listen in.
Hours after the Registrar of Political Parties gazetted the registration of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Coalition Party in a gazette notice that also published names of members to a technical wing of the party, Wiper Party, which is one of the 26 political parties that form the coalition party, is poking holes on the constitution of the council membership, claiming that it undermines their party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka. According to the list of the membership of the 12-member council, President Uhuru Kenyatta is the chair of the council, while ODM party leader Raila Odinga is the party leader of the coalition party. Other members of the council include Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, alongside KANU chairman Gideon Moi, Murang'a women representative Sabina Chege, Taita Taveta's Naomi Shaban, Kandui's Wafula Munyenyi, Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, and Abdi Nur Farah will be the executive council members. Suna East Legislator Junet Mohammed will also sit in the council as a member and Secretary General of the National Coalition Executive Council.
At the top, when you make it 11, the 6 members out of the 11 appear to be the ones who will be voting for and with Raila. An obvious number, which means that the person who is being outboxed here is Kalonzo. Those fears are not even his. Those fears belong to his supporters.
The leadership of the party also insists that Kalonzo should be the deputy party leader of the coalition and deputize Raila Odinga.
Party leader is not comfortable with the position that you have given him. Hata hii yangu chukueni, sitaki. Yeah. We're not interested in these things. We must now call upon Azimio la Umoja One Kenya to declare my party leader as the deputy president of this coalition.
The deputy chairperson of Wiper also questions the position given to President Uhuru Kenyatta as a council chair, yet in the next 3 months he will be retiring from office. Still insists that there is some level of mistrust, especially from those affiliated to Raila Odinga.
It is very strange, really, in true respect, to have a retiring president chairing a council where you have a sitting president. I mean, if all goes well and everything remains constant. But he was there to be the constant insurance for the rest of the parties. Everybody's worried from the past that these documents don't mean anything after the elections. So he offers two: firewall and continuity.
With the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential flag bearer still scratching his head on who will be his running mate, even as the deadline fast approaches, Wiper leaders still insist that Kalonzo's position as Raila's running mate is not negotiable.
Baba, fanya mahesabu yako vizu na ujue sisi wote tuko nyuma ya Mheshimiwa Kalonzo alikuja akakusupport without any condition. Roho safi.
The minute Kalonzo agreed to join Azimio and forfeit his ambition, we believed that ideally he negotiated for the deputy president, so that then you deal with his constituency. Now, in the absence of a deputy president, there will have to be an explanation. That explanation is not forthcoming, and the delay in making the decision either way is very jittery.
The council is expected to have the final word on nomination of running mate as well as the adoption of crucial decisions originating from the Executive Council. Chris Dairo, KTN News, Nairobi.
Well, so the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition was formally registered as a party, even amidst the wrangling that we've seen broken down by Chris Dairo in that report. So the coalition was threatened by an alleged breach in a coalition agreement between the three legs in this stool, and the new agreement was deposited at the office of the Registrar of Political Parties, altering the 7-member committee to 12 to accommodate a group led by Governor Mutua and Governor Kivutha Kibwana, who are up in arms a little bit earlier on for being sidelined. So competition and competing interests seem to be the order of the day within this big coalition. Over 26 parties coming together. Dismas, I'll begin with you. What do you read from this? Are they just rocking the boat from within? What's the aim in terms of all this? Raising the stakes? What do you read from it?
Well, there are three things that are you read when you look at that gazetted notice. There are, number one, the de facto leader is President Kenyatta. I think lawyers say de facto, de jure. So whichever language you want to use is the main person, is the overall chair, and anybody else in that coalition will be dancing to his drumbeat. And it also confirms what people have been saying for a long time, that in fact Raila Odinga is a project, because outside being a party leader, is a member of the council. So it confirms that what Raila Odinga has said times above number, that is going to retain President Kenyatta as his advisor, that there's going to be administrative continuity. And that would be very useful information for Kenyans to ask themselves that do they want administrative continuity? Because when you look at that structure, and assuming Raila Odinga becomes a president, it means all council members will be seated when Uhuru Kenyatta is coming in. That in fact President Uhuru Kenyatta can overrule any person in that room. Number two, the reason why that notice does not give any other person status, especially what Senator Enoch Wambua and Mutula Kilonzo are suggesting, that Kalonzo should have been named as a deputy party leader,
Yeah.
then would have known who is going to be the running mate.
Okay.
So I think they just want to rock the boat, knowing very well that it's very early in the day for Kalonzo to be given that position. So he should be happy that he's a council member. But on the flip side, Kalonzo Musyoka says that when you look at those members, his only peers is President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, that Charity Ngilu and the rest are his juniors in the political space. So being recognized as merely a council member alongside Sabina Chege or alongside Charity Ngilu is sort of demeaning him. And we know Kalonzo Musyoka, he makes a fuss over almost everything. But again, he deserves it because he's been a vice president for 5 years. He's celebrated as a minister for foreign affairs. His role in the international community. Yeah. And then he's got very valid expectations that he's going to be the running mate. And you see his psychopaths and supporters are saying that if you're not going to give us our cake, then we are out of the deal. And finally, still on the Kamba politics, you see now Senator Enoch Wambua has been elevated. Among all the Kamba politicians, I think now, effectively, on that matrix, he comes number 2. Okay. And this is very good, especially for journalists who tend to have a low opinion of themselves, that if you go to the political space, you can actually rise to the top. Yes. Look, Enoch Wambua, a few years ago, he was a senior editor at this institution, but he has played his cards right, and he's at the top. You may also remember the same case with Benjamin Mkapa. He used to be a journalist. Is gone to the top. So I think a number of journalists have got the opportunity now to go to the next level. But the biggest challenge, if Raila Odinga becomes the president, will be managing these 26 partners. And we've said times above number, but that for a nation to go to the next level, we must have political stability. So Kenyans will be asking themselves, if Kalonzo would be asking questions every single day, and Raila Odinga is firefighting every day, when is he going to run the economy?
Okay, that's really proper. Wakili, looking at what Kalonzo Musyoka brings to the Azimio One Kenya coalition table, are his grievances justified?
Yes, thank you, Jesse. I think people are not appreciating that we are in a new dispensation, and the 2 handshake principles have a direction they have taken, and they are insisting on taking the country there. They have said the 9-point agenda, the BBI failed, but the steam and the passion to arrive at that specific canon has never died. So, and they're trying to bring, can you imagine 26 heads of parties coming together to agree about even one item? It's not possible. And then again, what Kalonzo Musyoka is complaining about, obviously you cannot ignore, the numbers he's bringing from the eastern region. But this is a boardroom, Jesse. This is a boardroom matter. I wonder how they sit down to agree to something, and they come out on national television to actually reject what has been, what has been brought to us. I was not in that boardroom. No, none of us was in the room. But they sit there, they say, this is where we want to go. Let's agree that whoever drops one and another one picks one. Let's go forward. And then they come out and cry. So I think Kalonzo Musyoka and his team should be honest. You cannot have everybody being a chair. Neither can you have 2 people, unless they wanted to create the chair and then several deputies, maybe, as it were in the past. But again, that is a matter that I cannot decide. It's a matter that they can decide in a boardroom setup. I really pity. What kind of governance style is that, where you sit in a boardroom, you agree what you will do, or you disagree? Once you have disagreed in that room, then you should keep quiet. Don't come out here now and then rock the boat. So I tend to think that most people have not appreciated that the country is trying to be brought together. And that is a very mountainous challenge, to actually bring all these elites, political elites. And then again, Jesse, I think people now can see that it is everybody for himself and God for us all. I mean, everybody is trying to make sure he shines. And most people are not worried. What is the destination? Where are they trying to take their coalition? So I think that people should agree in the room and disagree in the room. And when they come to the national television, they should tell us how we can be unified by whatever positions they take. Yes.
Wakili, and still with you just briefly, because you spoke about everyone for themselves and God for us all. And we're speaking about coalitions. On the other side, Kenya Kwanza just recently signed a pact with 12 political parties. And later on, we saw Speaker Justin Muturi during the parliament session during this week put to task to explain his impartiality, since his DP party was one of these parties that joined Kenya Kwanza. Well, what's your take when it comes to impartiality? I know the Speaker deals with standing House orders and the House rules, but there's an issue of perception at the end of the day.
Yeah, you see, again, we are human beings, by the way. If you want perfection and good life, we have to go post the, creation and go to heaven or something like that. But we are all human beings, and we have that, there is a level of incapacity that, however unlimited we are, we will definitely reach at a certain level and never make it beyond that. Look at Muturi, of course. Again, you see that, we see it as lawyers all over. When you go into a courtroom and you realize the judge is actually trying to make every single move and rule to probably lean towards another side, and that is not acceptable. If Muturi had already decided he's going to support the deputy president, and then somebody comes to malign the deputy president in parliament, Muturi has nothing to do with that. As an umpire, you've got to be fair. Those are honorable members of parliament. You cannot gag them, especially within parliament precincts. So I think, in my view, he fell short of his calling. Now, talking about the coalitions, are they being fair? Are they partisan? Jesse, and I honestly would, let me just represent myself. I don't think you can be as fair as you must be. I mean, as fair as you should be, because the party has a direction it is going. And out of 26 parties, not all parties even agree with the destination itself. Okay. So you've got to take a firm stand at some time and direct where things have to go, yes.
Well noted, Wakili. Hesbon, I think let's start with Speaker Muturi's issue. Your take on the impartiality question, even as we morph into the coalitions.
Well, I think it's a very tricky situation because, the Speaker is elected by members of Parliament. And all the contestants for the post of the Speaker are actually fronted by political parties. So if you start talking about impartiality right now, then we can as well start interrogating, was he partial throughout? Because from 2013, I think J.B. Muturi has been the Speaker who was fronted by the coalition of URP back then and TNA, and then in the second term of the Jubilee government by Jubilee as a political party. So to what extent was he impartial in leaning more towards Jubilee? And we know that Jubilee suffered a lot in Parliament because of the divergence that they had within Jubilee by a few members of Parliament opting to, just focus their energies in Parliament towards making the Deputy President the President, and they frustrated the entire Jubilee agenda in Parliament. So I think from where I sit and looking at the critique that has been leveled against the Speaker, a lot of people have talked about a tradition of impartiality. So this is not something new, but to call for the Speaker to resign, I think is to overstretch it. It's just a question of we need to ensure that we stray our guns on him, because he's the bona fide Speaker and is supposed to serve the interest of Parliament and not political parties. Okay. So that is a question that will still be there. Anything that will be debated in Parliament that touches on the Deputy President, he'll be looked at through the lenses of whether he's partial or not.
Can he recuse himself in such cases?
I guess he can. I guess he can, because even if he does, I think the Deputy Speaker is a UDA member of Parliament who has since been trounced. So, I mean, it's a very dicey situation. It's just a question of the moment it has been brought to the public domain, as a professional and I think as a lawyer of very high standing, it's upon him to elevate himself to a status where he's not impartial. But let me come back to the coalitions. One thing that is interesting in the two major coalitions is that people are making noise from within. Even the people who are making noise are not threatening to leave. And that tells you that the stakes are very high, and when there is too much noise, you know that the major players believe that they will get power, which is a very positive thing for the two coalitions. So the more you hear of noise in Azimio, the more you're thinking that the guys who are in Azimio have this belief that they're going to win this election, and therefore they have to stake their claim as early as possible, so that after the election, they know what they're getting. But I think it's also important to put us, a few things in perspective, especially with regards to Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Just a few days ago, when they were campaigning in Turkana with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, he made it clear that it doesn't matter what position he is given. His main objective is to ensure that Raila becomes the president. Yeah. Then a few days later, he was rocking the boat from within, and I think he has unleashed, his foot soldiers to attack indiscriminately, And I think it is disingenuous of the entire team that is raising questions after questions and rocking the boat from within. Because it's important to remind Kalonzo Musyoka that most of these guys already have their elections won, courtesy of him. By making noise on his behalf, I think Senator Wambua is assured, Mutula Kilonzo Jr. is assured they're going to win. What they're busy doing right now is they're making it difficult. If Kalonzo had any small opportunity of being Raila's running mate, then they're making it difficult. Because if you're making noise now, when you don't have that power, what would happen when you become the substantive deputy president in a ticket that you won with the president? I think it will be a lot more difficult for them if they keep rocking without being constructive, and it is disingenuous when they make these agreements in the boardroom, and then when they leave the boardroom, they want to, stoke emotions among their supporters. That is one. And then number two, we cannot, Azimio should not be held hostage, by the political indecisiveness of Wiper and Kalonzo Musyoka. Because the bone of contention here is very simple. He joined the train late. And you cannot join late and within a few months you are made number 2. It is impossible. And I want to believe that all these delays, if he was not going to be made number 2, someone else would have been made number 2. Okay. All these delays are supposed to contain people from within. And I can say without any fear of contradiction that he's actually shooting himself in the foot by making a lot of noise. And then lastly, let me just say briefly. Dismas has talked about he's now a council member alongside Sabina Chege, Charity Ngilu. In politics, there is something called growth and development in politics. The last time Kalonzo Musyoka was the vice president of this country was 2013. That is a long time ago. It's 10 years from now. So we cannot say that since he was the deputy president, the vice president, other politicians have not grown. Sabina Chege has grown. She is big. Charity Ngilu has grown. She is a governor. She's been a governor for 10 years. She's been a cabinet minister when Kalonzo was in the court. She's been a governor. There is growth. So you have to be measured in the way you're looking at people. You cannot look at people in terms of where you met them. Right. People grow.
Okay. Interesting. And it's also proper.
Before Susan comes in here, because it's a very burning point. Yeah. Let's start with the speaker first. When he was initially when he was supporting Jubilee, can you assume that all his rulings were Jubilee-centric, and now they're going to be UDA-centric? We need to start asking ourselves then that in future, do we need to have a speaker who doesn't have any political inclination? Then number two, there is no way in this world you can compare Kalonzo Musyoka with Sabina Chege. Kalonzo Musyoka today is determining who is going to become MCA, a member of National Assembly, Senate in many parts of the world. Everybody in Azimio is looking for him to buy him cake. There is no you can compare him. And the last point, some panelists on this show whose names I will not make public, a few weeks ago they dismissed Kalonzo. They said he's inconsequential. And right now, they're saying Hail Mary because they want him to behave in a particular manner.
He's pointing at me.
Guys,
but
allow us to take a short break. I'll definitely have to cut you short. Interesting times we live in. Of course, Kalonzo Musyoka mentioning he's a natural candidate for the position. And we saw Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui also come forth, mention Mount Kenya, expects nothing short than the DP's position. I'm sure Susan is doing press-ups, so ready to throw jabs. Allow us to take a short break, Susan. When we come back, we'll directly come with your take on the issues rocking the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition boat. Stay with us. You're watching Inside Politics.